One time, a friend came to the house of Sir Isaac Newton and he was arguing on his philosophy of life. His view was that this whole world, everything has come by chance. God is a hypothetical concept just to create some peace and order. And he was arguing that, you see, if God exists, why is he suffering all around? Newton heard him patiently. And then he took him to his drawing room. In Newton's drawing room, his friend saw a beautiful, exquisite, precise, mind-boggling model, a working model of the universe. Here was the machinery which was working with all the planets and the relative sizes, with the relative distances, moving around the sun at different speeds. And his friend said, wow, where did you get this model from? Please tell me, I will also like to purchase it. And Newton seemed very grave. Newton said, I don't know. I think it has come by chance. Then his friend became angry and agitated. But why are you joking with me? At that point, Newton said something very meaningful. He said, you see, you're not ready to believe that this model, this imitation, has come by chance. How can you believe the whole universe in its totality and complexity, of which this is just an imitation model? That whole reality would have come by chance. Many times people may say that I cannot see God, why should I believe in God? One time, when I was in my second year of engineering at IIT Kharagpur, one of my seniors, Pasas, he was questioning me like this, challenging me, can you show me God? How can you dedicate your life to somebody which you cannot see? Something which you cannot see? You cannot see God, you're dedicating your life for that? You're spending your time and energy for that? How foolish. And the senior who was asking me this, he was the topper of the electronics department and he was working in Intel as a research scientist. So I explained to him, I started telling that you see, you spend your life 3 to 4 years to prepare for the competitive examination for IIT, joint entrance examination. And then you spend 5 years doing a dual degree in electronics department to get a job in Intel. You spent almost a decade working hard for the cause of an electron, which you cannot see. And therefore, you don't believe in it. But you have dedicated your life for the cause of an electron. So if you believe in your own philosophy, you should resign from your job. And you should better burn off your certificate. Just because we cannot see bluntly, we cannot make conclusions about God. Rather, the seen can be seen from the unseen. In fact, that is what is called as insight. To read between the lines, to see the seen, to see the seen in the unseen. It's just like a novel speaks about the novelist. Similarly, creation speaks about the creator. When we see a painting of nature, as you can see, the world class paintings are here. Immediately the question comes, who painted them so beautiful? Here you can see the names of the famous artists who painted these famous paintings of nature. But unfortunately, when we see the nature of which it was just a painting, why do we not ask the same question? Who is the artist? When we talk about micro world, we can see complexity at the atomic level, such intricate design and order at the molecular level. Say, for example, the complex double helical DNA molecule. Now, to say that DNA has come by chance, is it going to be a solid proposition? What to say of the molecule DNA coming by chance? You cannot even draw it by chance. And if somebody thinks that he can draw it by chance, he will get 0 in the exam by chance. Going to the ordering of uh, the atoms and the molecules, we see that there are allotropes, for example. Graphite is also made of carbon. Diamond is also made of carbon. Graphite is very soft. Diamond is one of the hardest metals, one of the hardest materials, not metals, one of the hardest materials. So allotropes, what's the difference between them? Structure, or you can say bond angle is the difference between them. So we can see this marvel, but we should stop by and ask the question: who has ensured of marvel existing in nature? Say, for example, the precision of the bond angles requires so much intelligence. If we have to understand, we can see missile technology. In missile technology, important is the maintain how important it is to maintain the precision of the angle while shooting a missile. Otherwise, a small deviation of a few seconds in the angle will lead to a missile being thrown off 1,000 miles away from its particular target or destination. So if that requires so much intelligence, here when we see these materials in nature, to maintain the bond angles here also requires precision, also requires a super intelligence to be able to ensure that geometry, that bond angle. Similarly, we go to the macro world, we can see satellites. Planets are moving around like swabs of cotton. When we want to make a satellite, it requires millions of dollars, it requires decades of research, the best brains of the world working hard, and then also many satellites fail, like Discovery, Columbia, Challenger. And even if the satellites are put into orbit, they only stay for a decade or so. And then it in a spiral orbit, it comes and enters the Earth atmosphere and get destroyed like that. But the satellites, the cosmic satellites, their lifespan is of millions of years. So the natural planets, the natural satellites prove that it requires a million times higher intelligence to put them, to manufacture them, to put them in orbits. That's God. If you look at the world around us, we can say our day-to-day lives are governed by rules and laws. College starts at a particular time. Now, who made this law? The principle. There are laws of driving. India, it says keep left. America, it says keep right. Traffic police, the traffic department decides these laws. The game of cricket has laws. In fact, because the game of cricket has laws, therefore we can enjoy cricket. Suppose there is, now just imagine in the Eden Garden you're playing cricket, but there are no laws. There is no pitch, there is no wickets, nobody knows where is the boundary, where one has to run, from where one has to ball, where the ball will go, where the batsman should stand. If there are no laws, what is the fun in the game? So, similarly, so now, and these laws are decided by ICC, that is cricket control. So we can see matter is governed by laws. There is periodic table, it's laws, it's configuration analysis we can do. There are laws of physics and optics. In fact, if engineering and mechanics don't have laws, none of us will have jobs. And law means a lawmaker. Similarly, we can see that we are also governed by laws. Our lives are also governed by laws. Like we can see in life, somebody is beautiful, somebody not so beautiful. Somebody is handsome, not so handsome. Somebody is rich, poor, educated, uneducated. Who decides? And on what basis? We can choose our education, job, husband, wife, apartment, but there are many things which don't choose. We don't choose our parents, our face cut, our intelligence. All that is installed. The question is, who chooses? And on what basis? That's God. God decides these laws. And these laws are meant to facilitate us. These laws are meant to facilitate us. Just like we can see, say in a particular university, the director and the dean may decide the curriculum, may decide the timings, may decide the schedule of the examinations, but all that facilitates the student to get education. Similarly, the laws of God facilitate us to evolve, to become more meaningful in our strides, in our ventures. They facilitate us uh, to 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 enjoy. So these laws of God, in fact, make life thrilling. Many times people may say, why God has laws, why God has these rules, why everything is controlled, why the position of the supreme controller? Yes, because He has put things in control. Therefore, there is a possibility that we can make our lives meaningful and thrilling. Otherwise, it's all random, Brownian motion, resulting in chaos and explosion, collision. So our birth, our beauty, intelligence are not random events. They are decided by God. What is the on what basis? What is the science? That science is called as law of karma. Many times people say that if God exists, why is there suffering all around? To understand that, we have to understand the law of karma. The law of karma is about cause and effect. It's a generalization of Newton's third law of motion, which says that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. As you sow, so shall you reap. So there is an effect, but it doesn't come on its own. Because there was a cause at some time in the past, therefore the effect is coming. So now when the time gap between the cause and the effect become enlarged, so much so that you're seeing an effect, but you're not able to relate the cause which because of which the effect is coming, you're only seeing the effect, and therefore the reason comes, why me? Why am I the victim? So we can see suffering is an indicator. Suffering is a signal by God to us that we can rectify ourselves. Just like when a good professor, a good teacher will give weekly exams, weekly tests, will give surprise tests, so that somehow or the other the student gets awakened or alert or gets realized to the point that he has to study. Just imagine there is only final exam and the student is not studied, his year will be spoiled. His registration will come at stake. But suppose he gets zero in the weekly test and everybody else has got some marks and this person has got zero, he'll feel very embarrassed and humiliated. So next test he will study, but ultimately studying for the finals, he will not fail. In a similar way, God gives us small sufferings as an indicator actually. These sufferings may be gross, these sufferings may be subtle in the form of mental disturbance, anxiety, stress, everything. So in fact, disturbance is an indicator of deviation. Just like in computers, when we write a good program, it will give a definite result. When we write absurd, when we don't write properly a program, or when then it will give a garbage output. Similarly, an experiment, a chemical experiment, when you do it properly, it will give you the desired precipitate, the desired color, what you want to see. If you don't do it properly, it may lead to an explosion also. So that means that deviation from the laws creates destruction, creates suffering. So that is a signal to us that we have done something wrong. We have done something wrong. In fact, many times we can see suffering can be suffering is an expression of God's mercy and God's love for us as well. Like one time, one small boy, he saw in the drawing room one day there was a packet full of white balls, which looked like rasgulla to him. But actually, those balls were naphthalene balls. But they were looking very flavored, small rasgullas. And this boy was very meticulously, slowly, stealthily trying to go up the shelf to catch those naphthalene balls. And the mother peeped out of the kitchen and she saw that her child is up to a dangerous activity. So she shouted that behave yourself, don't do like this. I'll beat you up. But the child was not desisting from his efforts. The child thought, Sarfaroshi ki tamanna ab hamare dil mein hai. So the mother realized that this boy is not listening. She was shouting. She said, I'll complain to father. She said, I'll beat you up. The child was about to gobble the naphthalene balls. He said, okay. A bird in hand is better than two in the bush. I have enjoyment right now. I can eat so many rasgulla balls. My mother is 20 feet far off. I can eat rasgulla and I'll enjoy. So thinking like this, he was about to eat the naphthalene ball. The mother came running, dashing at this child. And she caught hold of his hand. She made him through all the naphthalene balls and she gave him a tight slap on the face. So much so that the child was skidding on the ground, making saucers. With the buttons of his shirt broken, his knicker coming out, and he fell head on his head. Now the child was thinking, my mother, she's so cruel. She's so barbaric lady. Such a barbaric lady, she is not even allowing me to eat rasgulla. I will I will make a record of this. I will make a record of this. My mother is so cruel. So if he passes on, so if he makes this conclusion, what can you say about it? Suppose at that very point of time a child's friend come and he takes a photograph of the mother in her action stunt. And he puts it as a proof and publishes it in IEEE as a research journal that this mother is so cruel. What is the significance of that particular result? Similarly, when we see mishaps happening all around, it is very easy to blame God, but we don't see the whole time span. How much human beings are messing up the resources of God? How much human beings are messing up or exploiting each other? Exploitation, gruesome exploitation of material nature, gruesome exploitation of each other. And if then nature retaliates and gives a tight slap to stop the discrepancies and to stop the degrading and the exploitation of the world, then why put a blatant blame? That's the point. Rather, the point is that it takes, for a mother, it takes more love to slap a child than to embrace a child. The same is there with God. Yes, sometimes suffering also involves taking of life, but God has given life. He can take it to give another one. And He can stop an opportunity to give a fresh new opportunity for a person. Just like uh, if one has, it's we're trying to solve a problem, but he has, he has fizzled out 2 pages, is not able to solve. It makes sense actually to flush it out and start it out fresh again. Sometimes God may do that. So therefore, we can understand that God is in control of us. And we don't have to undergo suffering if we connect to God directly. And we can make our lives more meaningful. How to lead lives, God has told. In the Bhakti Shastras, in the Vedic scriptures, the Lord mentions it all. So, when we understand God, when we connect ourselves to God, when we follow the instructions of God which are given in the Vedic Shastras, in the Bhakti texts, in the spiritual texts, then each and every move of ours starts becoming more and more meaningful. Each and every move starts becoming fulfilling, because each and every move becomes a reciprocation of love with God, with whom we have eternal relationship. So if we see the world around us, we can see that this world is not chaos. Just like there is, every country has a government. Similarly, by seeing nature around us, we can understand that there is a universal government behind, because we are getting the facilities which any government would supply. Just like, say for example, a national government may have home ministry, finance ministry, defense ministry, education ministry, health ministry, and we can understand these ministries are working by the supply or the services of the facilities which they are giving. So we can see a health ministry may supply medicines to the citizens. We can see there are herbs being supplied in Mother Nature. That means there is a universal health department. We can see a home ministry which maintains law and order. Similarly, we can see in nature also. If we do something wrong, drinking, smoking, one gets cancer. If one wants to do sinful activity, say cheat, murder, there is conscience which gives a signal, don't do it. So there is universal government. Just like the Ministry of Energy, manufactures powerhouses. Similarly, we have the powerhouses, sun and the moon. The finance ministry gives currency. In nature, we see gold, silver, navaratnas, diamonds being provided. The currency is being provided. Defense ministry, we can see there is defense, universal defense ministry, because we can see the effects like immunity in our body, like ozone in the atmosphere. There is education ministry in the country. Similarly, we can see in nature there is education ministry which gives us the scriptures, the holy scriptures, like the Vedas, Bible, and Quran. In this way, we can see that just behind every government there is prime minister, behind the universal government there is God. God maintains and controls the whole universe. So government law abiders can live happily and government lawbreakers are punished. Similarly, God's law abiders can live prosperously. Can live prosperously. So, in this way, we can see that our life without God is like a black and white life. There are not many shades. It's monotonous. It's dreary. Black means suffering, sorrow, anxiety, misery, agony, and white means hankering. So either it is hankering or it is misery. But when we add God, we add all the shades and colors. Our life becomes much more colorful, relishable, thrilling, meaningful. We are able to digest provoking situations. We are able to reconcile the apparent contradictions which happen in our day-to-day lives. That's what happens when we add God in our lives. Therefore, it is most intelligent to add God in our lives to make up for all the imperfections in our life. Just like, say for example, there is a race which is taking place between a Luna and a Mercedes, 100-kilometer race on the national highway. Who is going to win the race? We may say this is an absurd question. Benz will win the race. Why Luna can win the race? Now, if I say, if I am a Luna in life, is there any hope for me? Can I never win the race of life? And the blunt, cold answer is no. No. Now, just imagine that the race is happening. In between comes the helicopter, and the Luna driver, along with the Luna, gets catapulted, gets pulled up by the helicopter. Who's going to win the race? The Luna. God is that helicopter. When we add God in our lives, all our inabilities, our limitations, our discrepancies, our loopholes, everything gets made up because God is like that helicopter. And then we can truly achieve success and meaning in life. That's why add God in all your endeavors, every day of your life. Make your lives really meaningful and successful.